Hi friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to, what did I call it? Mobula Monday. Mobula Monday. What do you think of that? We're going to be going down the 75mm motor-to-motor rabbit hole yet again. Because I like to torture myself, apparently. I don't understand why I can't just stick by my guns and all the testing that I've done. That 75 doesn't fly as good as 65 for me. But, you know, everybody keeps telling me I'm an idiot and I'm wrong. And I believe other people more than I believe myself. So, here we are again. We're going to be doing a Mobula7 with the brand new clear canopy. So, it's going to be a ghostly looking Mobula7 ELRS. With an X12 AIO because I had an X12 AIO and it blew up after 15 or so batteries, maybe 10 batteries, and that just drives me insane. So I'm gonna try another one, and if this one doesn't last 100 plus batteries, then the X12s are dead to me. I have heard from a couple of folks in chat that they have not had good luck with the X12s. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Mobula7 V4 frame and the Flywoo Robo 1002 23,500 kV motors, BT 2.0, and then I have 2 of the Emax 300 mAh batteries, which are made by GNB, and those are really the best performing of the fat wide batteries on the charger. And then I've got 2 of the FPV 450 mAh BT 2.0 batteries on the charger. The Emax 300s come with, I think it's GNB 27. So you have to cut that off and manually solder on BT 2.0, which is not the hardest thing in the world to do. Admittedly, it's also not the easiest thing in the world to do. And changing connectors on batteries is a little sketchy because you can't drag the battery all the way down to 0 volts, or you would destroy it. So you have to do it on a battery that's at 3.5. And if you touch the leads together, you know, things happen that you don't want to be happening. So yeah, changing connectors on batteries is a little sketchy, but it's totally doable. Take your time, be careful, and you can pull it off, and then all is right with the world. So that's the main thing we're going to be doing tonight. This is, of course, a Q&A live stream, so fill the chat up with any questions you've got. Do me a favor, though. Type CiottiFPV into your chat comment if you want me to see it. When you do that, it lights up in orange. You got to spell it correctly, and you can't put a space in between Ciotti and FPV. You can do that with each other, too. If you want to get somebody's attention, somebody specific's attention in chat, just type their name in and spell it correctly. And for them, and them alone, it'll light up in orange. This is my full-time job. If you like these live streams and you'd like to see them continue, head on over to CiottiFPV.com. And there's a whole bunch of different ways you can support me. Patreon helps me out the most, and to be honest, gives you the most benefits. You're going to get access to my entire Discord channel, which, among other things, will give you the chance to rent out one of every stick end that is in stock and available on the internet, so that you can actually try them and see if you like any of them before you waste $30 on just cool-looking stick ends that you don't actually like. You're going to get emails when I live stream, access to a YouTube playlist with a ton of unreleased stuff, Patreon-only live streams every so often, access to 2 different Facebook groups. One of them is a swap kind of Facebook group, so it's a bunch of people that, you know, are in our little community and you can trust to buy your stuff and not rip you off. The other one is just a spot to hang out. Bunch of other stuff. There's a whole bunch of tech articles on the Patreon page. And yeah, you can get in for as little as 10 cents a day. Or if you have a couple extra bucks, you can do the giveaway tiers. The $5 and up tiers will enter you into bi-weekly giveaways every other Monday. Tonight is not one of those. Next Monday is. So for 5 or 10 or 5 or 10 or 20, you can get in on the Tiny Whoop and Toothpick tier, or the 3-inch micro brushless and Cinewhoop tier, or the 5-inch tier. This way, if you only fly 3-inch rigs, you can only enter to win 3-inch stuff. Or if you only fly 5-inch rigs, you can only enter to win 5-inch stuff. The cost of those tiers offsets what it costs me to buy the stuff to give away to you guys. Or if you really want to make sure that you win stuff, there's a $30 a month tier, $1 a day, which will enter you into all the giveaways. So you'll be entered into 6 giveaways a month. If you win every couple of months, you'll get, you know, up to $70 or $80 or $90 worth of stuff, and that'll help pay for your Patreon. So, it, you know, if you're a lucky person, you can maybe be a patron for free. Probably not, though, because that wouldn't work for me from a business standpoint. There's also a whole bunch of affiliate links here. If you're going to do an order on the internet, do your buddies that create content for a living and are starving a favor and see if someone has an affiliate link. If it's not mine, let it be someone else's. I have affiliate links to FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God, Flywoo, Banggood, Camera Butter, and AliExpress. So before you check out, every time you check out, if you hit an affiliate link, someone will get a small percentage of your order and they will use it to continue making content for you to watch on YouTube for free. If you want to change your bookmarks over to the affiliate links, then you don't even need to think about it. Or if you don't use bookmarks and you're like me and you just type AMA into your URL bar to get to Amazon, what you can do over here, like if you type AMA and it suggests regular old Amazon.com, you can come over here to the right and there's a little X, and if you click this X, it'll delete that predicted URL. And then if you hit my Amazon affiliate link a couple of times, every time you type AMA, it'll automatically suggest to you my affiliate link and it'll take you to a nut grabber. Oh, that's not it. That's not, well, what the hell? I'm not even using my own damn... So you click the X and it wipes that out. Oh, it's suggesting the more recent things that I've... All right, so there we go. So then you come in here and you just hit the Amazon affiliate link, hit it once, hit it twice, just, let your browser know, hey, this is my most visited link over on Amazon, and it's going to bring you to the nut grabber. You can't tell me that you don't want a tool in your toolbox that you can call a nut grabber. It's not actually a nut grabber, but you're going to use it to grab nuts, so it's going to become a nut grabber, my friends. And it's going to make you giggle. And what else is there? So now when I type AMA for Amazon in, it suggests the nut grabber with my affiliate link, and there you go. I also have an Etsy store with some random hardware that would probably come in handy for you on your next build so that you don't not have something and have to wait on it, and a bunch of stickers. I have a Fiverr page where you can work directly with me one-on-one. If you want to skip like many months of info gathering, you can book me for a half an hour or an hour, hammer me with questions, or we can go on sort of a path that I've mapped out to help you learn how to tune and tune your rigs, fly better in the simulator, or plan your builds out so that you don't buy shit that catches on fire anymore. And there's also a Teespring store where you can buy fun shirts and whatnot. Shirt of the day is this wonderful Coexist shirt. Hey, there are sticker packs. The sticker packs are back, yo. Sticker packs are back. There's a glossy holographic sticker pack, which is a Micro King window cling, so there's no adhesive. Stick it to the inside or outside of any window. You're going to get the holographic CiottiFPV logo, and you're going to get the Gangly Gang holographic. PayPal link over on CiottiFPV.com, and just send me $10 with your address and tell me which of the sticker packs you want. This is the holographic and glossy sticker pack, and then there's the matte pack. There's the matte pack with similar stuff, but in matte. Matte CiottiFPV sticker, matte Gangly Gang, and matte Micro King sticker, not a window cling. Cool? So the sticker packs are back. Get yourself some stickers. Hoard them like me if you're a crazy person, and your life will be a little bit better. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be a little bit worse. But that's on you. The camera that on yesterday's stream was acting up, a little component fell off of it. So it was a physically damaged camera. It was not the screws driving into any of the components. I don't think so. Hold on. Let me confirm that super quick, because the screws went into the side, and I did have a suspicion that might have caused it. Nope. The component is way far away from where the screws are. So yeah, that camera failure yesterday was it was probably one of these Runcam Nano 3s that I've pounded the living balls out of. So when my stuff breaks, I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Like, I crash a lot. And yeah, so for stuff to break, it's expected. In the chat, Mr. Blue Sky was first. Tommy BFPV was next. Those two were talking for a while. Carlux FPV, that's better. McConnell Studios. Grizz is here. What's up, Grizz? You haven't been here in a while. Hope you're doing well. Sleepy CBR's in the house. Squitchy. McMuckus. Tommy B again. Stream Elements is running. Thank you, Stream Elements, for working for a change. Fat Pastor, Chris Mel, Jesse Garcia, Stavel, Danzelo the Terrible, Fun Per Volt, David Smith, Marcel Off Axis FPV, Frank Nicholas, Blizzard FPV, AJ, Iric, Rep Boy, Toft is in the house. Craig, Blizzard, Marcel again, David Smith, Bad for Life, YouTube just did the thing. We'll leave it there. If you want the Gangly Man to say your name, you gotta come in chat earlier than later and say something. If you type CiottiFPV in your chat comment, I'll actually see it and read it. GrizzFPV says, what's up? Blizzard FPV with a $2 super chat. He says, new stream, who dis? Thank you, Blizzard. Very kind of you. Denzel the Terrible says, good evening, CiottiFPV and all you gangly mother truckers. CH3 says, what's up, gang? CiottiFPV flashing 4.4 on a Diamond F4 on a Fractal AWG 21. Why so many AWGs? On a Fractal 21 gram 702 26,000 kV rig. That's very cool. Let me know how that goes, CH3. I know that Happy Model sells the Diamond F4 ELRS on a rig with 25,000 kV motors. I had no luck with 30,000 kV motors. Maybe my Diamond was just bad. I suspect it's because they've taken too much capacitance out of the board. 26,000 kV is a little higher than 25,000 kV. So if you have noise issues and or you can't get a good tune without it getting upset because there's electrical noise issues, I would love to know that. I would love to know if like 25,000 kV was the max for that board. Regardless of all that, I have heard from way too many people that the Diamond ELRS boards fail right out of the box or after a couple of crashes. So I will never build another rig with a Diamond ELRS board, and I will never recommend that any of you build a rig with that board. Also, you have to direct solder the motors on, so when the board inevitably shits the bed, now you got to do a whole bunch of work to get those motors off there. It's just, it's not worth it. It's only a half a gram heavier. And like, for me, one of the biggest joys of Tiny Whoops is flying them really hard and crashing them a lot and having them survive. And the Diamond boards just don't do that. I've yet to hear from a single person that's like, man, I've yet to hear from a single person that when I look at their actual flight footage, they're flying hard and crashing hard. I've never heard one of those people say that, like, yes, my Diamond is indestructible. And all I've heard about the regular Mobula7 ELRS board, the full-size board, which is only a half a gram heavier, and it gives you a UFL port so you can put a half-decent video antenna on it. All I've really heard about these boards is they're scary durable. So, yeah, the Diamond can go to hell. Chase says, doing a 2-inch rig with Happy Model 1103 motors. One of the bearings went bad. Any ideas how to get them out? Chase, sometimes the bearings are pressed in which case you can remove them. Sometimes the bearings are glued in which case you probably can't remove them. I will remove bearings from $25 motors, 5-inch motors. On micros, I've never found a way. So in order to remove the bearing, you have to get a tool in there at an angle through the one bearing to push on the other bearing to push it out. And I've never found a tool that will do that, and it is also strong enough for me to be banging on it with a hammer to put enough force into those bearings on micro motors. So with micro motors, I just buy another motor. What's nice is micro motors are usually less than $15, so you're not out. You know, $25, like, yeah, I'm willing to go ham to get those bearings out and to replace them. But luckily with micro motors, yeah, and if it's a Happy Model motor, it's probably closer to like $12. So suck it up, get another one, because I don't think you're going to find anything that can push those bearings out. And I have a feeling those bearings are probably glued in, so you're not going to be able to get them out anyway. And then the game that you have to play is, how the hell do you get a replacement bearing for that specific, rig? So here's what I would do. Pull the C-clip, take the bell off. Hopefully the bell is not bent. Save the bell, because you're gonna kill motor bells much more often than motor stators. So pull the bell off, save that, buy a new motor. At some point you'll bend one of the motor shafts, and now you've got a replacement bell, and you have not wasted the money from that 1103 where the bearing failed. Chase also says, the X12 Lite is the way to go. I had it hold up well over 100 crashes, and it's taken a beating. I didn't realize that there was an X12 Lite and an X12 not Lite. Oh, no VTX on it. Interesting. The X12 Lite does not have a VTX. I hate having to run an external VTX, so that I'm not going to go down that road. On a Tiny Whoop, like in terms of packaging and just finding space for everything and trying to keep the build really tight, which does make a difference in flight characteristics and also weight, like adding an external VTX usually adds about 2 grams, which is an awful lot. On a 75mm rig, it's admittedly less of a big deal, but it's still a really big deal, in my opinion. So yeah, I won't go down that road. I mean, at that point, if the VTX is not going to be on the AIO, there are a ton of different AIOs that you can run. I would probably at that point get away from Happy Model. What I love about the Happy Model AIOs is they have a couple of really good ones. Well, at the moment, I think they might only have one good one, but they have an AIO that's really durable and stupidly lightweight with the VTX on board and ELRS on board, and that's a really big deal. Makes the build simple, really durable, and super lightweight. If I was going to put an external VTX in, I would probably go to the T-Motor BL Heli 32 AIO that they just recently put out, which I think also has black box on it. So yeah, I would not do an X12 without a VTX. I would go over to that T-Motor board. It's almost certainly going to be better quality than anything from Happy Model. Although again, the regular F4 ELRS board is just, I don't get it. I don't understand why it's so good. Hopefully they continue to be as good as mine have been. I'll let you know soon enough because I have an extra one that I am going to be putting in just as soon as I manage to kill the AIO on this rig, on the ghostly rig. I've got 2 batteries on the charger for this guy. We are going to fly this to see what the hell happened. I moved this to props in yesterday, and all of a sudden it's super angry. Like it's acting as if it's very overtuned. And there's a chance that could have something to do with, I mean, the only thing that I changed that should make a difference is going to props in. Technically speaking, I did change the canopy, but I went from a smoke crotch gray canopy to a clear canopy of the same sort. So that shouldn't have anything to do with it. But we're going to figure that out. If I put this back up in the air, it's still acting like a bitch. We're going to put it back to props out, and then we're going to see if that fixes the problem. I think I'm going to do that before... No, the batteries aren't done charging. We'll see. Maybe I'll do some of the work on the Mobula7, and then maybe I'll take a little break to fly this thing to see what the hell happened, and then we'll finish that up, hopefully. Metal Dirtson says, cheers from far above the earth, flying home from the Black Grinder Florida meet. That's very cool. I'm very jealous of that, Metal Dirtskin. That's awesome. GrizzFPV says, Titan, thanks for subscribing. I don't use the word subscribing much, so I said it like a donkey. Welcome to the gang, my friend. GrizzFPV says, oh yeah, those Flow 2004s are pretty durable on the 4-inch 250 running GemFan 3.5-inch prop. Very cool. Those are the least expensive 2004s, and I've had really good luck with them too. So that's really good news. Manjaro Black says, I'm new to FPV, still in a sim. Soon I need to build a whoop. What build is best for mostly inside, but still okay outside? So if you head on over to Joshua's website, fpvknowitall.com, I have done pretty much his entire Tiny Whoop page on here, and my favorite build is the super cheap and easy build. Why is this website so slow, yo? Come on. Come on. Come on. Here we go. Good Lord! Come on now. So here it is. 65mm cheap/easy build. This is like my build that I fly on these live streams constantly. Happy Model Mobula 6 ELRS, Meteor 65 frame, antenna if you want better video quality, but you can skip it if you want to keep the cost down. They are $20. You're going to switch it over to BT 2.0. That makes a really big deal. You're going to get folded cell BT 2.0 batteries from either Weebleed FPV or Tattoo or TinyWhoop.com. And then if you leave the motors alone, you're going to go to this Gemfan tri-blade propeller or the T-Motor tri-blade propeller. My recommendation is to get tinywhoop.com 0702 30,000 kV motors, and then you can stay with the Gemfan bi-blades that quad is going to come with. I think it comes with... Nope, you're going to have to buy them. Gemfan bi-blades are the propellers that you're going to buy. It looks like that Mobula7 ELRS comes with the HQ bi-blades, and they're junk. Don't run those. So yeah, Gemfan bi-blades, and the motors are plug and play. You are going to want to limit the power on the motors. In the PID tab in Betaflight, there's a function called motor limiting. You're going to drop that motor limiting down from 100% to like 75%. And that's just going to make it a lot easier for you to fly it around. If you're flying it outside, you can crank that up to 100%. But yeah, for flying inside, since you're new, you're going to want to turn that way down. And away you go. I've been talking about that build and flying that build every single Whoop Wednesday live stream, and to be honest, most live streams for the last like 6 months. So it's just never-ending content here on the channel, developing, building, R&Ding, crashing, smashing that exact build. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know, or just drop it in the chat. Chat knows all about that build. David Smith says, I have a Tiny Hawk 3 and the camera stopped working, still receiving all info and black screen intermittent problem fuzzing like it's still sending. So David, the easiest way to know if the camera or the VTX have died is whether or not the OSD is there. The camera sends the actual video feed into the flight controller, and then the flight controller puts the OSD on there, and then sends it to the VTX, and then the VTX sends it to your goggles. So if you have a perfectly clear OSD and just no video, that means that the camera has died. If anything else is going on, if the OSD is fuzzy or moving around or anything weird like that, the VTX is going. And Emacs has a terrible reputation when it comes to VTXs. So you said that intermittent problems fuzzing, like it's still sending, that strikes me as maybe a VTX failure. But you'll know good and well if that's it. If you've got a blank or gray screen with crisp OSD, then the camera's dead. Joshua Gibson says, LOL. I'm not sure what I was talking about at 10:12. I'm sure it was silly. Titan says, is there any specific reason as to why you prefer 65mm? Basically, it's much lighter weight, and when you're trying to fly, so when we fly outside, typically, like, you're gonna go in between a set of trees that are like 5 feet apart, and the size of your rig is gonna be about this big. So the gap between your 5-inch rig that's this big and the trees that are like 5 feet apart is massive. It doesn't feel massive because you're going 80 miles an hour, but typically when you're flying outside, the gaps that you go through are way, way, way bigger than the size of the quad that you're flying. When you start flying in the house, like, a doorway is only this wide, and then the tiny whoop is this big, so the amount of margin is much smaller, even when you're just flying through a doorway. For me, I'm trying to shoot gaps that are like this big, right? Like over on my drum set, like the gaps in between the cymbals, they're about this big. And the tiny whoop is like that. So I'm trying to shoot gaps that are only like a little bit bigger than the tiny whoop itself. And 65mm rigs are multiple grams lighter. They're like 2 or 3 or 4 grams lighter usually. And when you look, and like 2 grams doesn't sound like much until you do maths. And when you do maths, you will see that 2 grams on a 25-gram rig is a big deal. That is a big percentage of the weight. And so, yeah, the 65mm rigs being 2 or 3 or 4 grams lighter, you end up with something that's like 15 to 20% lighter. And that's a huge deal because basically one of the things that kills you flying inside is that when you're in acro mode, you have to be careful of every degree of pitch and roll because it's gonna make the rig move all around. And then you have to deal with your momentum. And the momentum is really the killer because when you have your roll, when you just don't absolutely perfectly level yourself every single time because it's really hard. I do a pretty good job with that because I've been flying for 6 years and paying attention to that from the cinematic side of things. But yeah, the in acro mode, and in horizon mode, it's a lot easier to fly in the house, but it's nowhere near as fun. It's all about acro, in my opinion. And so, yeah, when the rig is lighter, any momentum that it has picked up, it's going to scrub off a lot quicker. And so even like 2 or 3 grams makes a huge difference. Back in the day, we did not have motors that were high enough kV, high enough RPM to make good power on these tiny little 1.2-inch propellers. Nowadays we do. And so you can build a rig that's lighter weight and still have good power. The end. Like that is it. That gives you a rig that is much more accurate and will flatter you much more as a pilot. Like, these are so much easier to fly inside accurately than the 75mm rigs. The other thing is, I fly relatively flat. I try to always level the horizon, and you know, I love the cinematic style of flying, so I always try to flatten out like I'm on a gimbal. And when you flatten out, you don't, like, when you go to change direction, you're changing direction pretty flat. And when you do that, the only thing that's slowing the quad down is like the vertical surface area. You can kind of over-rotate and drive it in a little bit, but for the most part, when you're flying flat like this, the weight of the rig is, the lighter the rig, the more accurate it's going to be, because it's going to stop sliding. If you're racing and you just, you know, put like 80 degrees of roll on the rig all the time and make people trying to watch you fly's eyes bleed, then it doesn't make as much of a, it's not as much of a big deal. But if you're more of a freestyle pilot and or, you know, like that more cinematic, like polished look to your flying, a lightweight rig is like the way, for sure. After we get done with this build, if we can get up in the air tonight, you'll see. You'll see. Like, the 75mm rigs are just a crash fest. I mean, when I fly, it's usually a crash fest anyway. But with the 75mm rigs, it's just nonstop. It's just constant crashing. And so I can either work really hard to get better so that I can fly them, or I can fly something that is better and I'll just be better. And like, with the 75mm rigs, like, I can't find a single benefit other than long range. If you want to do tiny whoop long range and go to the end of your block or 2 blocks down, then 75mm for sure. But why would you do that? Like, build a toothpick for that. It's going to do everything better. Like, 75mm rigs are stuck in this weird place of like, they don't really do anything better than 65, other than just like they're different. And I know that's what a lot of people like, right? A lot of people just, at all costs, they just have to be different. And like, that's fine. It's not me, but that's fine. You do you. Yeah, I guess if you live in a 100,000 square foot house or something like that, and you have like 100-foot ceilings, okay, 75mm rig is going to give you the option of making more power. But I don't know, man. These 65mm rigs with 30,000 or 32,000 kV motors, they just rail. And when you're trying to do like 3-dimensional, like full tilt freestyle moves, these things float a lot better because of how much lighter they are. So you can do like all kinds of, so even in that scenario, if you have 100-foot ceilings in your house, you can hammer this thing up. It's got tons of power and just like, yeah, it's so cool. This is the way. This really is the way. I've done so much tiny whoop testing over the last 6+ years, but I've been going super hard for the last like year or so. And there's just, yeah, what I find is 99% of the people that swear up and down 75mm flies better all they've flown in 65 is brushed whoops or very, very, very low KV 65 millimeter rigs. And that's not fair. That's like me saying like 75 millimeters don't make any power, and I've only ever flown them on 19,000 kV motors. Like it's just not fair at all. And the complaint that I hear every single time from the people that fly 75 millimeter rigs and say that they fly better than 65 is that they make more power. Like that's it. Like that is the excuse. And none of them have ever flown a 65 mil rig on the 702, 28,500, 30,000, 32,000 kV motors. So yeah, 65 mil rigs also crash better because they're so much lighter. And yeah, lighter's better, yo. Simplify and add lightness. Scrolling back up because YouTube did the thing. Denzo the Terrible says, PSA, don't write the names on back of the stickers. It rubs off on the other stickers in the envelope. Oh my God. Denzilla, will that come off with like, will it come off? Sorry, dude. If it won't come off, I'll send more. God damn it. Mick Muckus says, I have 2 Runcam Nano 3s that are foggy due to condensation. Any tips on clearing them up? Nope. The lens is not removable, so there's nothing you can do. If the lens was removable, you could take the lens off and put it in silica, and it would dry itself out. Try that anyway. Get a bunch of little silica packets, or rice. You can do it in rice too. I just threw away a bunch of silica packets, actually. I usually keep them. But yeah, put it in a box with silica packets or rice, and that'll pull the moisture out of it. Stavel FPV says, my BLV4 canopy broke, similar to yours. Recommendations on a replacement? Yeah, the Mobula 6 canopies. The Mobula 6 canopies are the jam, and then you can run a Runcam Nano 3 camera, which arguably is a better camera than the BI. Or if you want to stick with the BI camera, do the Tiny Whoop style canopy. Where the hell is it? The big blocky. What the hell? Here it is. The big blocky canopy like this. This guy is super strong. Super strong. But if you want to save some weight and have your rig fly better, the Mobula 6 canopy is where it's at. Runcam Nano 3 in there. You are going to have to hand solder to the camera, so that is a much more confusing kind of option. But yeah. Eric Gretboy Toft with a $30 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says the 270 is screwing with my OCD. Awesome. Thank you, brother. Super generous of you. There it is. The medicine man done cometh. Thank you, brother. Let me scroll back up. Barry says, hope you're feeling better. I am. I'm not all the way better yet. I've been actually like coughing and hacking all day, but I'm glad to not be coughing right now for some reason. Maybe because I'm screaming and yelling. Kiz Bartlett says, hey, CiottiFPV and my gangliest of gangs. Stavel says, no, we got that. Zeph D says, word up, gang. Titan says, I also fly hard, aka crash hard with my Mobula 7 V4. When would you say that the frame is too damaged and should I change it? I would say that it's too damaged when the prop guards start to touch the propellers, and or you have to start pulling your tune down just for it to not like fly away or for the motors to get hot. But yeah, other than that, I would just run the frame into the ground. Steady Eddie says, I know you said props in on your Cinewhoop was a big improvement. Have you found props in on Tiny Whoops to be better? No, and we're going to test it a little bit here, Steady Eddie. We talked about this yesterday. The main thing that props in does better on Cinewhoops is drop elevation. Typically, we're flying Tiny Whoops in areas with 9-foot tall ceilings, right? So typically we don't drop enough elevation with a Tiny Whoop for props in to really benefit. And there are some benefits to props out when you're cornering really hard. So I've tried it once before and I didn't see any difference. On this rig, yesterday, we moved this rig to props in, and it's acting really weird. So tonight, in a little bit here, we're going to fly this on props in, see if it's still acting up, and then if it's still acting up, I'm going to put it to props out and see if it cleans up. I moved this to a different frame, same frame, different color, and I changed the canopy, same canopy, different color, and all of a sudden it's acting really weird. Could be because of props in, could be something else. We're going to isolate that tonight for sure. Barry says, I'm starting a toothpick with Zing 1404s. What's your favorite toothpick frame? Zing 1404s are awful big for a toothpick, Barry. Typical toothpicks are on 1204s or 1303s. So for a 1404 toothpick, you might as well use one of the bigger, heavier duty frames. The Chris Rosser's AOS T3, I think it's called, frame is probably like the lightest frame I would go. I don't really know many other toothpick frames. To be honest, 1404s, you can put those onto like a full tilt freestyle rig that'll protect the camera a lot better and give you a lot more of a 5-inch flight experience because they're heavier and you can put a bigger battery on them and you can actually throw them over trees and stuff. So if you already have the 1404s, I would actually go for a more freestyle-y kind of rig. These are BQE rip squeaks. You can't get these frames anymore. But yeah, a frame that's a school bus style frame where it's flight controller and ESC in the middle, camera up front, protected by the carbon fiber, VTX and receiver in the back with a top plate where you can top mount a battery. You can do like a 4S 450 battery and you've got something that really, really, really emulates the 5-inch flight experience, which toothpicks do not. So yeah, maybe go that would be my recommendation, is to go that route. Toothpicks are interesting and their strong suit is that they're really quiet, but those rigs are really not all that loud and they're going to give you a much more three-dimensional kind of flight experience. Eva FPV's in the house. How are you? Stavel FPV says, CiottiFPV got me hooked on Whoops. Good. They're the best. Denzel the Terrible says it should come off. Awesome. Let me know if it doesn't. Lambo Drives Zambo says thanks for the info. You're certainly welcome. Jelen says got a new Mobula7 ELRS 915. Oh God. Flash Betaflight 432 onto it. How do stock 4.3 PIDs fare compared to the stock tune on 357? Stock 4.3 PIDs are much more aggressive than stock 3.5.7 PIDs. Luckily, the filtering in 4.3 is much better than it was in 3.5.7. So, yeah. And then one of the brilliant things about 4.3 is there are sliders. There's a master multiplier slider. Put the rig up in the air. If all is well, move the master multiplier up to 1.2. Fly it again. If all is well, 1.4. Eventually, you'll move it up to the point where the rig is like angry when it's idling. And it starts to, when you stab the throttle and you bring the throttle back down, the motors won't calm down as fast. You'll notice it. And that's when you're getting to the limit of the tune. At that point, you're going to back the master multiplier off a little bit, and you've got a rig that's cranked. Most tiny whoops, you can actually move that master multiplier all the way up to 2.0. If you can't, that's okay. But yeah, and you can even do it in the OSD. It's brilliant. David Smith says, do you or anybody in here know the default from factory purpose of the left side 3-position button on an iFlight Commander 8? I have absolutely no idea. But it'll tell you in your modes tab, David. If you plug the rig in, go into Betaflight, go into your modes tab, it'll have everything in there for you, so you can figure that out pretty easily. Manjaro Black says, can I make the 65mm build with HD0 Nano 90? You could, but the flight characteristics are going to suffer quite a bit, mainly because of the added weight. You're going to be adding 5 to 6 grams of weight, and that's really tough. So yeah, you can absolutely do it. I have a live stream from a month ago or so where I took the Mobula7 HD0 and upgraded it and flew it around. So go onto my channel, click live, and then there's a little magnifying glass up there on the top right. Just search for HD0 and you'll find that live stream, and you can watch me upgrade it, and I flew it. Each upgrade I flew it, so you'll get to see how the performance gets better and better and better. In the end, If it's a rig that you want to fly inside the house, hard freestyle, it's too much extra weight. If you want to fly it like a Cinewhoop, probably be okay, but I don't find that to be all that fun, if I'm honest. I'm dying to know what the hell's going on with this rig, and these batteries are done charging. So let's dive in. I've got 2 batteries charged. I have to know whether props in is wrecking the tune on this rig or not. Even though someone reminded me on yesterday's stream to unplug the VRX, it would appear that I've forgotten.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Not surprising. I did a couple of little things to this rig to make sure that nothing was hitting the AIO. So this thing might be totally fine now. Let's take a quick look. So this is a Mobula7 ELRS with a nuclear canopy. These are TinyWhoop 0603 motors that I'm trying to figure out here. 26,000 kV, which is lower than I normally like. And these are tri-blade propellers that don't exist quite yet, but they will soon. It's better than it was yesterday, but it's still exhibiting this weird behavior of a PID loop that's a little angry. I want you to listen. I want you to listen to after I come off the throttle. I'm going to blip the throttle, and what you should hear is the motors go, "Rrr." They should go all the way up to the RPM that I command at the top of the throttle, and then when I slam the stick down, they should come quickly down. They should not go, or like, all right? Just listen. You hear the secondary, that in some cases that's caused by anti-gravity. Not in this case. I've been flying this rig and it doesn't have that problem because I've adjusted the anti-gravity to not have that problem. So there's still something going on with this rig. Let's figure out if it's because it's now props in. Because if there's some weird tuning phenomenon with props in where I can't get the tune as aggressive as with props out, that's a deal breaker. Mainly because there aren't situations that I think props in is going to do better with. Well, let's do this. Let's fly this battery. I want to see how it flies props in. I'm not going to be able to tell a difference, but maybe I will. I'm going to fly this battery props in, and then we're going to move it to props out with a fresh battery, and we're going to see if the tune is a little bit... It is noticeably better than it was yesterday, though, which is interesting. Not super surprising, because this new clear canopy, it was pushing up against the AIO a little bit. But now it's not, so... yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I can tell any difference. Oh, wow, it's way worse now. This is what it was doing yesterday. Yeah, this is a problem. But I'm going to keep it in the air. We're going to go up here, and I'm going to do a bunch of dives from as high up as I can. Like I said, I've never had a problem with props out handling dives like this, so I don't see a world where this is going to fly better. But like I said yesterday, if you're going to do building dives with your TinyWhoop, props in is probably going to do a better job with that. But inside the house, even with high ceilings, it's not enough of a dive for props in to really help anything out. Yo, look, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen I spent hours today adjusting this cabinet so that these new speakers that I just bought will fit. This door, see how the door kind of folds away? These are really cool built-ins that the previous owners did. So yeah, now I got these Infinity speakers up in here. I'm one step closer to getting my U-turn vinyl player set back up here in the new house. I miss it. I don't listen to vinyl all that often, but like when I want to, and it was set up in my apartment. Fuck. For the longest time, and yeah, like I actually miss it. All right, I can't tell any. Oh, I forgot to get these gates set up. I can't tell any flight differences to props in. But I don't know. Maybe I will once I go back to props out. I haven't flown this rig since yesterday, so it's really hard to be like, oh no, and this is not like my normal rig that I fly a lot, so I can't really say like, oh yeah, it definitely feels different. Neither can you, to be really honest. You like, there is so much placebo, and you got to work really hard to fight it, or otherwise you're gonna waste money. So blind test as often as you can, but just be honest with yourself. Like, even though you just spent a bunch of money on something, be honest with yourself, and it'll save you money in the long run, because if you determine that you just can't tell the difference between stuff, then stop buying new stuff. Because it's not making a difference. Like, if you could certainly make the argument that, like, even if you can't tell, it's still maybe making a difference, but it's making so little of a difference that, I don't know, just fly what you got. So we're going to go back to props out here and see if the tune cleans up and see if magically it does anything better. But like I said, I'm realistically not going to be able to tell. I don't think. Because it just now, it flew exactly like it always has. It drops elevation totally fine. It rails around the room. It just flies good. So, yeah. Let's see. But again, if I was going to do building dives, here's what I'll say. In the interest of having rigs that are totally versatile, that like you don't have to think about things like props in or props out before you go to fly it at X, Y, or Z. If this doesn't clean the tune up, and if there's no other like detriments to props in, I'm probably going to move these to props in, because if I just don't have to think about that. Like, it would be nice to not have to think about that when I want to go and dive a building, for example. So yeah, not that I do that often with tiny whoops, but if I do choose to do that, it would be nice to not have to think about this. Now that I say that, I feel like I want to set up two very similar rigs, one props in, one props out, and go to downtown Atlanta and dive some buildings with the tiny whoops, because I'm not gonna get caught, not gonna get in trouble. Like, why am I live streaming right now? Why am I not in downtown Atlanta right now diving all the buildings with tiny whoops? Why am I not doing that tonight? You know? All right, so we're going to turn on motor direction is reversed, save and reboot. And then I think I'm going to have to change the motor directions individually. Well, no, I can just do this and then do Nah, it doesn't work. Let's do the wizard. Understand wizard, start and spin. Okay. 1 is wrong. 2 is right. 3 is wrong. 4 is right. Stop motors, close, and we're good to go. Not changing anything. Let's see what happens. Titan says, I recently bought Mobula7. Would you recommend maybe getting higher KV motors? Absolutely. Or just run it into the ground and build a 65mm instead. Well, Titan, which Mobula7 did you buy? Did you buy the ELRS one? If you bought the ELRS one that has the X12 AIO in it, you're stuck in that frame. That AIO will not fit into a 65 millimeter frame, unfortunately. So in that case, either just run it into the ground, or higher KV motors will make a huge difference in the way that thing flies. And I've got a motor recommendation for you. So tell me which Mobula7 it is. EVFPV says I'm down with that. You damn right you are. We're doing it for sure. We are gonna die of all the things. As soon as the weather gets nicer. All right, so first we're gonna see whether the tune has cleaned up a little bit. Although this battery, I was hoping to get this battery on here while it was completely fresh, but let's see. Yeah, the tune's better. There's something weird about props in with the tune. That's super strange. That's really weird. Yeah, like look, it drops altitude fine. Flies exactly the same. So, yeah, you can run a more aggressive tune. Props out. I have no idea why. And they dive fine. Like, they dive completely fine. There's nothing wrong with... Technically speaking, maybe... Your boy's on fire tonight, motherfuckers! Technically speaking, maybe props in... Maybe the reason why the tune is a little bit more angry is there's something about props in that is allowing the PID tune that's on here to work better. I doubt that, but you never know. So I guess at this point the only fair thing to do would be to have two completely identical rigs. And right there, that's impossible because the quality control of these Happy Model AIOs is so bad that each one of these AIOs will withstand a certain amount of, a different amount of master multiplier and PID gains than the other ones. So that's a test that kind of can't be done. But if you could get two completely identical rigs, you would then need to tune them to the limit, and then you would need to fly them and put them into prop wash situations and see how they handled prop wash. And doing that without black box, way too many variables. So I have a hunch. I'm really interested in why the tune has changed with props in versus props out. That's very surprising. I have no idea why that is. That's super weird, because that was not the case on Cinewhoops. I have a hunch, though, not related to that. I have a hunch that the reason why the effect is so drastic on Cinewhoops is because they have big, thick ducts on them. These are more like prop guards. These are somewhere in between ducts and prop guards. But yeah, that's wild. And I don't understand it. And that drives me insane. But I don't have two rigs that are similar enough to... Look, they fly fine props out. They fly totally fine props out. So run them props out. And there is, when you're doing tight turns, a rig that's props out shares the yaw and the roll. When it's props in, the yaw and the roll both rely on the outside rear motor, and that can overwork that motor. So there is a legit benefit. Racers, this makes a big difference. Freestyle, it doesn't make as big of a difference. But sometimes you are gonna do the stick coordination at some point. So Go-Kart Mozart says props out keeps the average motor RPM lower as well as more balanced thrust, so pods should handle it easier. What do you mean by keeps the average motor RPM lower? I've never heard that. That's interesting. Like if you just hover, props out will hover at a lower RPM. Is that true? That's pretty cool. If that's true, that's pretty cool. As well as more balanced thrust. I think what you mean by more balanced thrust is what I was just talking about, right? Go-Kart Mozart says PIDs. Props out keeps the average motor... Kiz Bartlett says, I need to check if my quad is props out or props in. Never bothered to check or change it. Where is... what are we talking about? There's Titan. I got the FR Sky one non-HD. Mobula7 FR Sky. Yeah, I don't know what you should do. I don't know. Well, wait, no. If it's FR Sky, okay. I would move it over to 65, to be honest. Well, yeah, I would move over to 65. As long as you haven't bought a whole bunch of those big, thick batteries yet, I would move it over to 65, personally. Meteor 65 frame, 0702 30,000 kV motors from tinywhoop.com, BT 2.0, the WeBleedFPV batteries, or the Tiny Whoop batteries, since you're going to be ordering the motors from there. And yeah, away you go. That's going to be a rig that flies better outside too because it's lighter, in my opinion. EvaFPV says, also the thrust to weight ratio plays a big role. Cinewhoops are heavy for the prop size, so the difference is probably amplified. You know what's that reminds me too, Cinewhoops have a really weird aerodynamic situation with the huge GoPro up front. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something about the fucking brick of a GoPro being on the front of a Cinewhoop that is the main reason why props in for just works better. That would not surprise me at all. But yeah, the fact that the tune went to hell on props in here, that's a deal breaker for me. That really is. So Cinewhoops only, props in. Although I am going to be moving this cinematic 5-inch rig to props in. Because it has a hard time dropping altitude. It ramps up sometimes when it's dropping altitude. And you know what's interesting? Now that I have that thought about the aerodynamic nightmare that is a big fat GoPro on the front, this is my only rig that has that issue. This is the only rig that's dead cat. So when you look at like where this GoPro sits on this rig in relation to where the propellers are, this is almost like a Cinewhoop. Cinewhoops push the GoPro really far forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if it has something to do, if it has something to do with a big brick all the way far forward, damn near towards the front of the propellers. And, oh, I already moved this to props in. Look at me go. But in order for me to really test it, I need to get it out and fly it props in and then fly it props out. But it looks like I got ahead of myself and I changed it. So that's kind of cool. Vasilis says, Mobeetle 0702, 26,000 or 0802, 25,000. Vasilis, don't buy the Mobeetle. The Mobeetle comes with the Diamond AIO and that thing sucks a bag of dicks. Buy the regular old Mobula 6 ELRS. It's a much better rig. Thrust to weight ratio plays a big role. The reason why I thought the Tiny Whoops would actually benefit is I think these guys have similar thrust to weight ratio as Cinewhoops. Roughly like 5 or 6 to 1, I think. At least that's roughly where my Cinewhoops are. But that's interesting too. Titan says, I got some fat batteries, not a lot though, like 8 of them. What motors do you recommend? Didn't quite catch what you said. Tiny Whoop 0702 30,000 kV. If you want to run those, that's a lot of batteries. If you want to run those batteries, I do have a really good motor recommendation for you that I'm actually about to try. So if you do want to keep it in that frame and run that thing into the ground. There are these, and please don't everybody buy these yet because I really want to snag a set before they go away. These are 802 27,000 kV. You're going to want to turn these down a little bit. You're going to put these on GemFan tri-blades. The deal with these motors is they have a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft, so they're going to be really strong. You do not want a 1 millimeter motor shaft motor on any 75 mil tiny whoop. It's going to bend the 1 mil shaft. So if you want to stick with that Mob7, get these motors for it, and you're going to want to motor limit them down a little bit. 27,000 is a bit much for the bigger props. But yeah, these motors are the next step of this build that we're going to start right now. Because what's going to happen now is I'm going to do this build, I'm going to put these 1002s on it, and they're going to be too heavy. I'm going to fly it around the house, and I'm going to be like, these motors are too heavy. And then I'm going to get those 0802 27,000. So ready? Let's do that. Maybe not. But I bet you that's what's about to happen. So we've got the Mobula7 V4 frame. This thing is brilliant. We've got Flywoo Robo 1002 23,500 kV motors. These motors are going to go on here. They're probably going to be too heavy. And then, like an idiot, I'll probably put them onto a little 2-inch toothpick because, again, I'm a sucker for punishment. I'm not going to like the way it flies, but I'll do it anyway. We're doing the new Mobula 6 clear canopy with a Runcam Nano 3. Hold on. Let me launch the Logitech software so that this camera starts looking decent. And then we're going to do... I've got a brand new X12, which I should have a CLI dump for. And then we've got the GemFan Biblade 1.6-inch propellers with 1.5 mil... motor holes in them. So let's get to work here real quick. This will be a super quick build. The longest part of this build is going to be dealing with the BT 2.0 situation, turning my soldering iron right now. This is a pre-built BT 2.0 from tinywhoop.com, and what I learned a couple of weeks ago is there are two really thick wraps of shrimp wrap on here. Sorry, I almost said shrink wrap. It's shrimp wrap because it's made from the exoskeletons of shrimp. You didn't know that, did you? If you cut this off, you save like 0.6 of a gram. It's crazy. It is kind of nice for it to be on there because it makes that angle, but it'll make that angle without it, and you'll save a bunch of weight. So, yeah, I just come in here and cut it off to save the weight, because on tiny whoops you really got to be careful of weight. It makes a huge difference. So there's one piece there, and I'll weigh them just in case you don't believe me. But like, what reason do I have to lie? So there's that one piece, and then here's the other piece that runs the length of this. This is the really heavy piece, and this is a lot more difficult to cut off of here. Although, doing pretty good. This is where it gets hard though, because it's really shrunken down to the BT 2.0. But we'll get it. There we go. Catch the edge there. Oh boy. I'm trying to rush, and that's how I bleed. How many times have I bled on the stream so far? What is it, like, I think it's 3 maybe? One time was really nasty. The other times were just little wussy flesh wounds. All right, so let's see here. Let's get this piece off, and we're gonna weigh it. What do we got here? Eva says, a good point. Might try putting a weight up front that doesn't block airflow, or just strap the GoPro on sideways. That'd be interesting. GoPro sideways would be pretty cool. Kiz Bartlett says the missus says my thrust to weight ratio is way off. But Erickson says, I tried the 0803s on the Odonata and I loved it. Strangely, it's much better than the same drivetrain on a 75mm whoop. 0803s are great. The problem is nobody makes an 0803 with a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft. So 0803s fly great, but then when you crash them, they bend motor shafts like crazy because they're all made with 1 mil motor shafts, and that's not strong enough for the weight of the 0803 on a rig. I've even tried them on 65 millimeter rigs, and the problem there is that nobody makes a high enough KV 0803 for the 1.2 inch props that you get on 65 millimeter rigs. So yeah, it's super annoying because the 0803s have been the best motor option on the tiny lifters, but they're just too fragile. Like, you can't crash it even once with the 0803s on it, and that's just insane. That's not realistic. So yeah, kind of annoying. I wish somebody would make a 1.5 mil motor shaft 0803. That's one of the reasons why I'm so interested in the 0603s, because I've had such a good flight experience with the 803s. That extra 1 millimeter of stator height really makes a big difference. You really get a lot more power and not that much more weight. This is really fighting me. This is just like really tough shrink wrap here, which is probably why it's so heavy. Almost there, though. There we go. Almost there. Come on. Come on off. Oh, buddy. Come on. I'm trying to be as gentle as I can here because the way that you have to solder to the pins of these VT 2.0s is not the most durable thing in the world. We are good to go. Hopefully I didn't break either one of those plugs off. Look at this, yo. Look at the weight. This scale does not do a very good job at, like, when things don't weigh a lot. Here, let me put this on here. This usually helps. So it's showing 0.4. I thought I remembered it being like 0.6. But that's almost a half a gram, yo, in just shrimp wrap. Take it off. And this works fine. Because look, like, the wires have, like, the memory of that bend in them. So they work totally fine. Away you go. Titan says, I really appreciate the help. Keep up the great work. Thank you, brother. Chris Long says, does it make me weird that the Mobula 6 with Meteor 65 frame 19,000 kV biblades seems to fly better than with the tri-blades? Not at all, Chris Long. What you're noticing there is the weight of... Well, first of all, the Gemfan biblades are just like magical propellers. They actually make more thrust, unbelievably, than most of the tri-blades. It's super strange. But what you're noticing there is the weight of the propellers being so much lower. When the propeller weight is lower, the PID loop the response time on the PID loop is much lower, so the PID loop will literally work better. So we've got ground is close to the corner. Ground is close to the corner. So yeah, that's what you're noticing there, and it's a real thing. Like it really makes a difference in flight characteristics. So let's see how short I can cut this guy. I'm gonna grab one of these batteries with the huge, chunky. Oh, I got this thing in here sideways. The huge chunky brick part, and I'm gonna put it in to the battery bay, and then, okay, so let's see. Let's get this facing forwards, and so the battery leads are there. So when that guy's plugged in, those wires make that angle, and okay, so we don't want them any longer than that. And now I did that just to make a little mark in the wire. And then what I'm going to do here is cut them even first. And then I am going to cut one ever so slightly shorter than the other, because the the mounting locations, the ground is a little bit farther back, so you can cut the ground wire ever so slightly shorter. I think ground is round on BT 2.0, right? Haven't we established that? Ground is round, right? Ground is round. Pretty sure. Let me take a look. Ground is round. Yep, ground is round. All right, so I'm going to cut the wire on the ground ever so slightly shorter, just the tiniest little bit, and that just makes it's a really inconsequential kind of thing, but it does actually already is a little bit shorter. But it actually does make the wires sit a little bit flatter, and yeah. It's not about saving weight. It's about the wires not like bunching up. Because what can happen is that like the wires will get up into the propeller and it's just sort of a nightmare. So do it. No reason not to. I'm only going to strip off a tiny little bit of this insulation because this board is really thin. The PCB on these Happy Model boards is really, really thin, which is why they're so light. So there's no reason to have a big, long portion of uninsulated wire. It's just going to end up sticking out the top of the PCB and being annoying. So just take a little bit of the insulation off here and we're good to go. And now what will happen is the silicone will kind of pull a little bit when you strip these with your fingernails. So then you just come in with your little pinky nail and just push the insulation back down, and that'll give you your nice little bit of exposed wire. So now we are going to use the through holes. So get these wires neat and tidy as you can. And then when we tin these, we're going to use as little solder as possible because we're trying to maintain the thinness of the wires. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of flux on these wires, which is just going to make my life a little bit easier when I'm tinning them. All right. Well, that's way too much. All right, took some of it off and put it on that one. There we go. If you're not using flux, you're just making your life a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Start using flux. Use it all the time. The amount of time that it takes you to put a little bit of flux on is drastically offset by the fact that you will have to redo things a lot less often, and you'll have a much better quality joint. So just a little tiny bit. This is called tinning the wires. We're putting the soldering iron on one side, and then we are pushing the solder from the other side. Just a tiny little bit. By doing it this way, you make sure that you're pushing some solder in between the strands of wire. There's all these little multi-strands. So you're pushing the solder in here, and then the soldering iron is over here. So that's making sure you get solder all in between these little strandy boys. JR says, good to see the stream numbers popped in. New baby, preteen, straight, so I haven't much time. Keep coming, bro. Thank you, brother. Metal says, maybe try Kapton tape instead of shrimp wrap. I don't like Kapton tape. It's just messy and ugly. But it would totally work in this case. Kiz Bartlett says, asking the real question, hot chicken or kimchi ramen to eat tonight? Kimchi ramen is always too much. Flux paste or liquid, which is better? Both. Just get them both. I'm gross. The flux pen is nice because it'll, if you need it to flow. Lately, though, I've been super into this flux paste in this little syringe. This is really nice. It stays exactly where you put it, and you can put like a big blob of it on there. So I'm a huge fan of this paste in the syringe. Where the hell's the AI? Oh, there it is. So yeah, but it's nice to have both. It's nice to have both. Oh look, I thought that I didn't have any extra BT 2.0s. There's one that's sitting right here that's probably cut to the perfect length. Nah, maybe it's a little too long. Too short rather, and it is. It is a little bit too short. Okay, so ground is towards the outside. Let's get this going here. And round is ground. So we're going to put this like this. And I'm not going to pre-tin the holes. All right, damn it. I put a little bit too much solder on there, and now they won't go through the through holes. So, all right, well, one of them will. All right, so I am gonna tin the through holes in this case. Since the one of them won't go through anyway, I kind of might as well. So, put a little bit of flux on there and a little bit of flux on there. And just kind of scrape that off a little bit. Okay, there we go. That's fine. All right, so let's tin this first. I'm going to lay it down a little bit just so I can see what the hell I'm doing. And here we go. All right, so we're going to bring the heat from the top, and then we're going to feed some solder through the bottom. Heat and solder, and that's it. Nice and simple. Heat and solder. There we go. Now we're tinned. Don't need a lot of solder. Again, just a tiny little bit on these. And so now round is ground, so we want it like that. And this is a little bit hard to do because you're kind of doing it blindly from the back, but it's really nice because these holes are really close to the edges. So the two, you can see the, there's the two of them. 1 and 2. Oh, and it looks like I didn't actually get quite enough solder on this one, but we're going to be fine. There's actually plenty there. Let me put this guy like this, and I'm going to see if I can get this done with you guys kind of being able to see what I'm doing for a change. That's not bad. Okay. Usually having a camera right here like this is kind of a nightmare for me because it gets in the way. But I like for you guys to actually see what I'm doing. So round is ground. So we're going to hold this like this. I'm probably going to obscure what I'm doing with the tip of the soldering iron anyway, but let's give it a shot. So this guy comes here, and we're just going to try to push him through. If you can't get it right away, get the heat off of there. And how you can tell is to look at the gap between the insulation and the board and see how there's a big gap between the insulation and the PCB. That's no good. So we're going to hit it with heat and remove it. Easier said than done. Let's actually do the positive first. I was getting a little carried away there. Let's do the positive first because it's inboard here. Wow, that looks pretty good over there on the OBS window. All right, I'm not getting it. Let's give it a second to cool off. So basically what's happening is the wire is a little too thick here. So over on the wood block, I'm just trying to flatten out the strands. Yeah, that should work. Let's try it again. You just kind of push down and rotate to kind of flatten the strands out. Let's give it another shot. Soldering iron is at 700 degrees. That's a little hot, but as long as you're quick, it's fine. And that's a little too long. Let's give it another second to kill it off. This is a little difficult, to be honest. You're trying to put a big thick wire through a tiny little hole. It's not a big thick wire. Perfect. We got it on that one. It's not a big thick wire, but it's just barely thick enough to kind of be a pain in the ass. All right, let's try the ground again. And come on, buddy. Come on. Get in there. Now, the fact that we cut the ground actually makes this a little bit more difficult. I gotta try to flatten out the strands of wire here. You're not really gonna be able to see me doing that, but you just put the wire against something. I like doing it against a little piece of wood. And you push down, and then you just rotate it. Push down again. And you'll see when it's nice and thin. Use your eyes. There we go. Let's give that a shot. And I am going to hit both this and the PCB with a little bit of flux here. Flux just makes sure that the heat transfers really quickly, and that's what you want. You want to be able to get in and get out. All right. So here we go. Push this back down so that you guys can see it. If I'm honest, this is a little bit harder because I'm trying to do this right here for you guys to see it, but it's worth it. Usually I would do this sideways, but that wouldn't really work for you guys being able to see it, so let's try. All right, bringing the heat in, trying to push it through. We're close, man. There it goes. And that's all the way in. Give it a second to cool down. And now, take a look at the gap between the insulation and the board. See how there pretty much is no gap there? That's what you want to see. I really prefer the insulation to be right up on the board like that. I find that to be a lot more durable. And then you're just going to put a little angle on these guys. Just nice and gentle. You don't got to go pushing really hard on this. Just get a little angle in there. And that's just going to make it kind of sit in the frame a little bit better. So basically, once it's in here, and I got to put the rubber grommets in still, but I just want to show you what we just did. So the reason that we put that angle on it is so that it shoots out the back like that. And it's nice and clean. And then the battery sits in there. And you see how we cut that wire a little bit shorter? That helps with this sitting nice and flat here. And these two wires are not, like one of these wires is not all bunched up. So the wires kind of sit nice there. And it's a nice and clean little setup that's going to plug right into the battery. And the reason why we spec'd it out with that battery is because of the thickness of this big shit. So when this guy is in here, it sits all the way out like that. So if we hadn't cut it, right, like this big piece sits up against that part of the battery tray there. See it? So this battery won't really go in any farther. So if we hadn't measured it, we would have probably gotten this a little bit too short. So now we've got the absolute minimum amount of cable run on this. And this cable is pretty heavy, all things considered. So yeah, this came out pretty good. I could have done this even better. You can solder to these the pegs on the BT 2.0 at a 90-degree angle, or even more than a 90-degree angle. But I had this one that was pre-made and ready to go, so it's fine. I'm sacrificing maybe like 0.2, 0.1 of a gram by having this the wire make that little angle, and I mean it's fine. That worked out pretty good. Having this little camera here is fucking great. I gotta be honest. It's really, really nice. All right, back into it. So that's all the soldering that we need to do. One of the greatest things about these Mobula 6 builds is that that's it. I really like that about these. Everything else now is just going to be screwing stuff and plugging stuff. This is an X12 AIO JR. I'm giving the X12 one more chance. I do not have super high hopes, if I'm honest, but hey, never let it be said that I didn't give these 75mm rigs opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to to show me that they're good in some way. Wait, no, I need these screws. Why am I so hungry? I think just being sick has made me like unreasonably hungry. One of the really cool things about this X12 board is that the outside of these holes is notched out, so you can just take your grommets and just push them in. It's super, super, super simple. It's not a big deal. The other ones that are completely covered over, but this is kind of nice that you can just force these in like that. Grommet number 3. I'm really hoping that I have an X12 CLI diff that I can just copy and paste in. I'm not, because that'll copy and paste my binding phrase in, and I won't have to deal with any ELRS nonsense. All right, so we got those guys on there. Let's throw this in the back into the frame. And actually, nope. I always forget to plug the camera in. Let's take care of that. And come on, man! I am shocked that Props In made the tune all upset. That is really weird. I don't understand that at all. I am gonna run this with no. I'm gonna run it with a lightweight antenna. I want to give this thing. Primarily, I'm going to be flying this inside right now. Ooh! I got a super light antenna here. All right, we're going to run it with this antenna. I want to give this thing every possible opportunity to fly good inside, and that means keeping the weight down as much as humanly possible. These motors are going to be heavy as hell as it is. After I fly this inside, I'm going to fly this at a jungle gym to see if it makes a good jungle gym basher. But for right now, I want to build this absolutely as light as possible to give it as best of a chance at being good inside. Which it's not going to be, but you never know. You never know. All right, there we go. Dropped into the frame there. Antenna coming up through the canopy. Just a slick little kind of setup. And now we're going to throw these longer Mobula7 screws in here, which is kind of cool. And then we'll throw the motors in and deal with the setup nonsense. So these are the screws that the this X12 came with, and the Mobula7 will come with. What? Why is this very oh, I guess the screw is too heavy for the magnetism of the screwdriver to pick it up. That's interesting. JRFPV with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, not sure what the Medicine Man is needed for, but not sure if you ever replaced that bumper, LOL. Thank you, brother. The Medicine Man Fund is just that ever since I started doing full FPV as a full-time job, I haven't quite been able to afford health insurance. So the Medicine Man Cometh is basically just a health insurance fund, so that hopefully here in 2023 I can get some health insurance. I have, that being said, I still do spend money every month on a version of health insurance, which is talk therapy. And at the moment in my life, I mean, for most of my life, to be really honest, my brain has been really what's needed, the healthcare. So it's been a calculated risk. My brain is the thing that tried to take me out, so it's the thing that's going to get the majority of the healthcare. But yeah, it would. I'm looking forward to getting the rest of my big dumb body covered here in 2023, because I'm turning 42 this year and my body is not getting better. Weirdly, it seems to be getting worse. Go figure. But I'm gonna be all right, thanks to you, beautiful bastards. All right, there we go. We got some screws in here. Tighten these other ones. screw in some motors, plug them in, and do some Betaflight stuff. All right, so we are good to go. The long and short of why I like 65 is that we have motors now that make enough power. Like in one sentence, that's why 65 over 75. Because for flying around the house, the 65 mil motors make plenty of power now. There was a long time where that was not true. And that was an annoying period of tiny whoops. But that period is now over. So yeah, lightweight all day. Okay. Nick Burns used to do that. Nick Burns used to take 65 millimeter rigs and put them into a 75 millimeter frame to get more thrust out of them. But that was the days where the maximum KV motors we had available to us were like 22,000. And then one day we got a 25,000 KV from Happy Model, and that's when things started to change. And now, good Lord, we're all the way up to 32,000 KV. And good God, they are just brilliant. The main problem with tiny whoops has always been, and it is still, a lack of power to weight ratio. But tinywhoop.com and Weebleed, they are working on that for us, and they are pushing these motor manufacturers to make higher KV motors, and the motor manufacturers are finally saying, okay. For the longest time, they'd say no. They'd say, no, we can't do it. And yeah, they just didn't want to. It wasn't that they couldn't. It's just that they didn't want to. And we're now demanding them, so they're willing to do it. Go figure. Which is awesome. Huge shout out to Zotek and Jesse from Zotek from WeBleedFPV and Jesse from Tiny Whoop for holding their feet to the fire and saying, like, yeah, you need to do this. Do it. Please. People want them. Gene Loco says, will you fly it in stock settings or possibly presets? No. Because I don't think it's going to work with the stock settings. I mean, I don't do much, though. Like, I move PID sum up, and then I move the master multiplier up, and that's really it. Like, I don't do a lot of tuning. I don't need to. Because we now have powertrains that are good enough. It's amazing. It's a really big deal. Let me make sure these screws aren't too long. Nah, we good. We good. Do I have anything to say about these Flywoo motors? Let me weigh them before we put them on a rig, although I did buy an extra one, so I can weigh it at any time. But let me throw these motors on the scale just to see. I know that they're heavy, though. I mean, considerably heavier than 802s and 702s. Of course, why wouldn't they be? But they also have really long motor wires on them, which I don't love, but, I mean, you know, the 1002s are a motor that inevitably is going to get used on toothpicks, and so, yeah, it makes sense that they would put a slightly heavier motor on. So, 2.4 grams, 2.5 grams. Here is a Happy Model 0802 with a fairly long motor wire on it, just for comparison's sake. 2 grams. 2.5 is not bad when you consider it's a 1002 versus an 802. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's about the right weight. 702s are between 1.6 and 1.7 grams. Veritas Weasel says, hi, bud. Why are you building a Mobula7? Because I hate myself, Veritas Weasel. I hate myself so much that every single time someone else says that 75 millimeter rigs are better, I disagree. I think that I'm an idiot and they know more than me. And now the real reason that I'm building this is these 1002 23,500 kV motors are super interesting to me, and I think
maybe this could be a good jungle gym basher. So these have 1.5 millimeter motor shaft, so they'll be really strong. And 23,500 kV maybe is going to be enough. So yeah, these could be really good. The 1102s, I found them to be a little too heavy and not a high enough kV. I guess the main thing here is these have enough kV where they become kind of interesting. None of the 1102s have a high enough kV where on 1S they're going to make any sense or fly all that good. As I've proven because I've tried all the highest kV 1102s that there are. So yeah, this is just continuing. And a lot of you guys wanted me. A lot of you guys were dying for me to do a 1002 build. So here you have it. You guys want to see it? You got it. But here's the deal. I don't think the kV is going to be quite high enough. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is getting the 1.5 millimeter shaft 0802 27,000 kV tinywhoop.com motors. And I think those are going to be the best possible motors for 75 millimeter rigs. Because it's all about kV, baby. And these GemFan bi-blades are really, really good. Really, 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 really good. But they love kV. So all of these like lower kV 75 millimeter rig motors, they don't make sense. You try to offset it by putting them on tri-blades, but then they don't have enough stator volume to really handle the weight of the tri-blades. So just like with 65 millimeter rigs, the bi-blades are like the answer to getting these things to fly really good. But with the bi-blades, you got to have a lot of kV. So I think these Flywoo Robo 1002 23,500 kV motors are almost there. I think maybe this is enough. And that's really what I'm super curious about here. I love the idea of this motor size. Hey, did anybody see RC and Power is now making a 1003? I would not recommend that for this. That's going to be more of like a lightweight toothpick motor. Great that we've got another 3 millimeter tall motor though. Super interesting motor size. All right, so there we go. There's a 1002 Mobula7. Let's throw some props on it and put it on the scale. John O'Connor says, CiottiFPV did do Dorbit. No, the Dorbit thing, like, it's funny, I guess, but I don't know. I don't fly for tricks. It's about, like, cinematic flying for me. I don't do the whole trick thing. I don't know. I got the whole like competitive shit out of my system through many years of motorsports, autocross, instructing, track days, stuff like that. And now, like, one of the big draws of FPV to me is the non-competitive aspect. The fact that it's closer to filmmaking, where it's just a bunch of creative, awesome people like just doing cool shit, and you're in it to like better yourself rather than like be the best or be better than other people. So yeah, I'm not into tricks for the most part. All right, so here it is. This is not like the absolute lightest, but yeah, this is a pretty light 75 millimeter build. And we're going to compare that to a Mobula6 build. So where are we at here? 26.1. So 26.1, yes, you could put lighter weight motors on here. If we did 0802s on here, we would save a half a gram per motor. So 26.1 would go to 24.1 versus these 65 millimeter rigs. And this is the heavier 65 millimeter rig, and it's got a true RC singularity antenna, and it's sub 20 grams. This is the problem with 75 millimeter rigs. They're just heavy. They like the frame is heavier. There's more motor wires. You have to run a heavier motor. So yeah, this is going to be challenging to fly, but we're going to go for it. Stevie says, do 65 millimeter whoops require more expertise to fly as compared to 75 millimeter? Complete opposite, Stevie. 65 millimeter is much easier to fly because it's so much lighter. The lighter weight prevents it from sliding around as much, and the sliding around is what makes flying acro indoors so difficult, and just in general makes flying indoors so difficult. So yeah. Let's fire up Betaflight here. I'm gonna take a look and see if I have a diff from the X12. I'm pretty sure I do. Lightweight Cinesplore, no. Newbie Drone Whoop, no. Lightweight Cinesplore, no. Come on, baby. Where's that X12? Red Cinesplore, no. Hold on, let me unplug this thing because it gets hot being plugged in, the ELRS AIOs. Mobula 6 ELRS. Mobula 6 ELRS. I might be able to use this one, but let me see if I have a diff from the X12. Diamond AIO build flying like ass. No. Mobeetle fixed diff from Happy Model website. No. Testbed glide. No. I do not. Okay, so let me go up here to the Mobula 6 ELRS one, and I'm just going to grab certain parts of this. So we can grab this. We can grab that. We can grab that. Yep, TAER. Aux channels. Yep, we can grab that. Adjustment range. Which one's that? Oh, that's my OSD setup. Yep. We're good there. VTX table, I'm going to not grab. So first up, we'll just copy this top chunk here, and then we're going to leave the VTX table alone that's on there. This is going to configure a bunch of stuff and save me some time. Plugging this thing in, and the first thing I want to see is what the hell gyro this guy has. So you go into CLI and you type status, and it'll tell you what gyro it's got. It's got an ICM 42688. That sucks. That's the worst of the gyros at the moment. But one of my 65 millimeter rigs has that gyro, and it's actually fine. So it flies fine. It's not as good as the MPU 6001, but yeah. All right, so let's just paste that in. That's going to take care of a bunch of stuff, and save it. And now I'm going to unplug it. I just want to keep the heat under control. And so now we're going to grab the rest of this stuff here. Accelerometer calibration, I don't want to grab that. Min check and max check, I can grab them. RC smoothing auto 100, yeah, that's fine. Bidirectional on, motor PWM, D-Shot 300, motor poles 12, good. Battery capacity not 300. All right, so we're gonna grab this chunk, and then that battery. Well, yeah, I'll grab the battery capacity 300 because I do have these tiny little 300 mAh batteries. VBAT max cell voltage, great. Y'all reversed, yes. Small angle 180, great. I just want to scroll this down a little bit. Deadband 3, y'all deadband 3, great. OS, and then here's all my OSD stuff, so that's awesome. And then we've got VTX low power disarm, great. VTX frequency 5917, yup. NTSC, yup. And now here's my Express LRS stuff down here. So we're going to grab that. Set name, RPM filter Q at 800, that's fine. And now I've got some of my PID stuff here. Anti-gravity gain. This is just a diff, guys. This is a diff from a rig, from one of my other Ultimate Freestyle 65mm rigs that flies really good. This is just a way of saving a ton of time. Anti-gravity up at 5, that should be fine. Here's the crash recovery stuff. I do want crash recovery, so that's fine. I-term relax cutoff, PID sum limit. Let me do this. Let me just grab this here. I will leave the tune exactly as it is, and we'll fly it as it is, and then we'll change the tune around a little bit. So we'll do this as if you got your Mobula7 right out of the box. All right, so we're gonna come into the CLI. Nothing that I'm putting in here is drastically changing the PID tune or the performance of this rig. I am gonna turn PID sum up though. Well, I'm gonna grab my rates first. Here's my rates. Just because there's no reason not to. Since I just dropped in the ELRS stuff, it should be bound. And one thing I am going to do is crank PID sum up. So I'm going to type get GET PID SUM, and in here we've got the factory PID sum setup is 50% and 40%, and that's too low. So we're going to highlight this. This is for pitch and roll. We're going to copy it to the clipboard. Then we're going to type set, S-E-T, space, and then we're going to paste, and we're going to change 500 to 1,000. That will give the PID loop access to 100% of the motor power on pitch and roll. And now we're going to do the same thing with yaw. Type set, space, PID sum limit yaw equals 400 up to 1,000, enter, hit save. That is going to drastically improve the PID loop performance of this rig. That is the only thing I'm going to do to the PIDs though. Other than that, okay, so they ship it with some crazy PIDs. That's interesting. I'm going to turn DMAX back on because I like DMAX. That's all I'm going to do though. Wow, they send this with a wild PID tune. What the fuck? Good God. Yikes. Well, let's see how it is. Let's see how it is. When they sell this rig, it's on really small motors. It's on 0802 20,000 kV motors, which are really, really, really small. Which is probably why this PID tune is jacked up so aggressively. I'm going to put power to it and see what startup thing it plays. There's a fucking motor idle all the way up at 12%. That's too high. Let's bring it down to 8. And I also need to check motor direction. So let's plug power in and see what song it plays. Maybe it's on Blue Jay already. Didn't play a song because it's plugged into USB. All right, let's see what song it plays. That is not Blue Jay. So we need to get this onto Blue Jay in order for RPM filtering to work. So we're going to plug USB back in. We are going to open up a browser window, and we are going to go to esc-configurator.com. And what? Okay. It said update is available. So now for to do any ESC stuff, you have to have battery power to the rig. So I've plugged in a battery. We're going to click connect up here. I'm going to come down here to read settings. I'm going to click that. It's going to read the 4 ESCs, and it says right here that they are on BLHeli-S. So there we go. Now we're going to go flash all ESCs down here, change it from BLHeli-S to Blue Jay. Do not touch this ZH30 ever. You're going to put version... Ooh, there's a new version, 0.18.1. Very cool. And then for PWM, we want 48, and we're going to hit flash. And now we're going to give it a bunch of time. Mauer messaged me. What's up, Remy Tim? Luke Kidgel on TikTok. Oh, boy. Interested to see what that is. So it's flashing the second one here. Give it some time. Come on, little guy. Just gonna blow on it to make sure it doesn't get too hot. Yes, it makes a huge difference to just with your mouth blow on these things. It really cools them down a lot. Yes, I have a fan. No, I can't reach it. Yes, I can reach it. Fan makes noise, though. I don't want you guys to have to... Did it finish that quickly? Okay, cool. Well, that was fast. Beep strength, we're going to move that. That is the startup beeps. Actually, I'm going to leave beep strength alone. Beacon strength here, though. Move that up because that's your ESC beeper, and it's really quiet on the tiny whoops. After 2 minutes, the beacon delay, after 2 minutes, it'll start beeping on its own. I like that. Break on stop, I like to turn that on, and that's it. Then you're going to click write settings. That's going to write those settings that you just did, and now we're good to go. We can pull power. We've now put this onto Blue Jay, and we can come off of here, and I think this should be good to go. I'm going to take one last look through Betaflight just to make sure. Configuration here. Oh, the PID loop is on 2K. What the hell is that about? That's weird. I guess it's because the CPU load is high. Interesting. We do want to check the setup to make sure that nose down is nose down, nose up, left roll, right roll, yaw left, yaw right. We're good to go. What else? Soft serial is on. What the hell is that on for? What are you guys using soft serial for? If that's weird. David Smith says, how do we get your merch? Head on over to CiottiFPV.com and click the Teespring button and the Etsy button. Etsy has stickers. Teespring has shirts and bags and mugs and shit. Permanently enable air mode. Yeah, that's fine. OSD, that's fine. We're looking okay. Let's just put it up in the air. See what happens. I'm going to change the failsafe to 3 seconds for the guard time. Not a big deal. Shouldn't be going into failsafe flying this in the house anyway. Receiver. Auto factor is at 100. This looks good. This came over in the in all those CLI settings. Here's my modes. This looks fine. Beeper, flip over after crash, launch control. Great, just for funsies. This thing's getting hot. I can smell it. Adjustments. This is to change my OSD. Rate profile selection. No. Get that shit off. Save that. Motors. I dumped that motor idle down a little bit. OSD. What the hell is this? Core temperature. Let's turn that off. Disarmed. I don't want that. Fly mode. I don't want that. This is just stuff that this ships with that I don't like. Okay. VTX. I'll turn that all off. Save it. Video transmitter, race band, not 6, 8. That's weird. Power 400. No. 25. We are on low power disarm, so it is already running at low power, so that's fine. It's the ELRS that gets really hot. On until first disarm, good. Or on until first arm. All right, we're good. We're fine. Let's see if it. Let's see if it'll fly right out of the box. Flat part towards me, and not really right out of the box. We've done a whole bunch of shit. Those PIDs are really aggressive, though. I'll be kind of shocked if this thing does not fly away. I did not check the motor direction. Let's just arm it and see what happens. Maybe they're fine. Or maybe it won't bind. Damn it.
Well, here we go. Here we go with ELRS binding madness. Let's come into receiver and see if we have anything. Nope. Okay, how do you put these things into... all right, let's just try this. Let's just hit bind receiver down here in the bottom. And I'm going to put my module into bind mode. There it is. Press to send, binding. Oh my God! Happy days are here at last! Oh, buddy. Bottom left, all below 1,000. Top right, all above 2,000. Good to go. Huh. I thought my binding phrase that I did in the CLI would have taken care of that. That's interesting. Whatever. I don't care. It's bound. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that was nice. That was nice to just be able to hit that button in Betaflight and have it bind. Come on now. All right. No. This motor's got some power. I can tell you from just that. These motors have a little bit of power. These ain't no 702s, baby. Yikes, that made a noise. It rotated on the desk as soon as I armed it, which means that the motors are not all spinning in the right direction. So we are going to come into the motors tab and get them spinning in the right direction. Never, never, never do this with the props on unless it's a tiny whoop. Start and spin. Oh man, it can barely spin them up. Motor 2 is correct. Motor 1 is incorrect, so we're going to reverse it. Motor 3 is correct. Motor 4 is incorrect. Man, these are barely spinning. I might need to turn the startup power up a little bit in Blue Jay. But let's give it a shot first. Okay. And power. Let's see if it flies away. No, we're good. Motors spin down really low. Really, really, really low. Listen, you can hear it. Spin down real low. This thing's gonna drop altitude like a son of a bitch. All right, let's see how it is. So this is with the wild tune that they sent on it, but I did turn on RPM filtering. They do not send it with RPM filtering turned on. This is with a heavy battery. This is with a 1S450 mAh battery. Oh man. So there we go already. That's it. Not wanting to change directions and just sliding around. See, like, look at... Like, you get a little momentum, and it just keeps going in that direction. This is a heavy battery, though. The Emax... The Emax 300 mAh batteries are significantly lighter. It does not have a shocking amount of power. These motors, I am gonna try these on the jump. Oh God! See, there it is. See, it just wouldn't stop going towards the television. That's that weight. Jesus Christ! When it crashes, it hits like a ton of bricks too. See, so this is how you have to fly these heavier rigs. When you want, you have to dig it in. You have to come over here and like and drop the horizon. You can't coordinate your sticks and fly around flat like this. You have to dig it in and dig into the throttle. That's how heads flies.
And I just don't like that look. I like this look better. And it's because I'm a cinematic nerd. You know, I like the flight footage to look really, really good. And, yeah, from like a cinematic perspective, that nice flat horizon looks really nice. So like flying straight ahead and just like finding a gap, like that's fine, unless I have to make a correction. Like if I need to correct here and then get it through that gap, it's a little bit harder because again, it's got more momentum going in that straight direction that needs to be scrubbed off. These motors do not make as much power as I had hoped. Although, I'm going to throw another battery on and we're going to fly it upstairs. What I noticed with the 75mm rigs is, since they're heavier, they're a lot slower to react, so you don't get like that instant direction change that I'm expecting when I stab the throttle like this. But you see, there is like a quarter of a second later, it does start to accelerate. But I want it to be snappy, man. I want it to be like, I want it to accelerate now. I want to stab the throttle and have it like explode. That's what the 65mm rigs do. They're just, it's just like lightning. It's really, really, really wild. So I feel bad doing this because it's after midnight, but I'm going to try to not crash upstairs. I start talking more quietly as if that's going to help. Yeah, I got to try to not wake the family up upstairs. So I'm going to really back off and try to not slap it into the ground because that's when it gets really noisy. But I want to give it a little bit more space to accelerate. All right, let's see. Oh wait, the fucking bedroom door is open. Is Maggie still up? She's usually asleep by now. All right, so you see the catch? It doesn't catch itself as good as the 702 rigs. Oh man, I crashed on carpet. We're okay. Man, it's even hard to turtle mode it. All right, I'm gonna wrap it. I don't want to. Power ain't bad. Oh fuck. See, it's just it's just harder to manage the weight. There's just a lot more weight to manage. If you've ever flown like a 600 gram and then like a 750 gram rig, 5-inch rig, you'll know exactly what I mean. Like it's just, there's just way more momentum, and the momentum for like being technical inside like this, I don't want it. I don't want that momentum. Oh god, there's the TV. And like it's totally flyable, right? Like this is like we're flying, but it's just flying inside's hard as it is. You want to give you want to give yourself every possible benefit. Missed it. See that? Like I gotta really, and I do kind of sort of start to get used to it, like kind of digging it in, but it's just not. It's not better. Look, I cleaned up under the desk. I put an outlet up top there. So now this is completely. See, there it is. There it is. 65mm rig would not have hit that. It would have turned that corner with less weight, and it would have been completely fine. Isn't that nice? Now it's all clean under there. I like it. Oh god, see, there it is. There it is, sliding around. There's the extra weight. I don't expect it. Could I get used to that? Sure. Why? Why not have a rig that doesn't do that? Why not have a rig that makes that corner without you having to, like, work so hard? Tune is fucking great. Of course it is. Those numbers are sky high. We're getting away with it because these motors are fresh, I think, and these Gemfan biblades are really well balanced. Up tilt's a little high. All right, so let's put it onto the 300 mAh batteries, which are significantly lighter, and we'll see if it's a little better. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't save a smaller battery to fly. I'm gonna put one on the charger right now. Hold on, let me see which one of these smaller batteries is the highest voltage. I want to back this for you with a 65 millimeter rig. 3.77, that's probably going to be the highest. 3.70, 375, 373, 371. Yep, all right, cool. So I'm going to put this one on the charger, and we'll see how much juice we can get into it while I fly these Emax 300s. Here's what these look like, in case you're wondering. Come on. These are Emax branded, but these are GNBs. These are the batteries that Quad66 says are like the best of these wide batteries, and I can see why he says that. The power these deliver is wild, and they're nice and lightweight. So let's burn them down real quick here. This is exactly what I expected. There's not a single surprise. When I built the really lightweight 75, just like this, with the EX0802 30,000 kV motors, and it actually had some good power. This is similar to what it flew like. It's good. It's just not good enough. I didn't have them at full 30,000 kV. That was a bit too much. Noticeably better on these lighter batteries. I can already tell it's sliding around less. It is a little bit over-tuned. There was a little moment there where it was spinning the motors up without me telling it to. There's just the long and short of it is there's nothing that this is doing better than a 65 millimeter rig. Maybe once this thing is oh, that's interesting. Maybe once this thing is outside, bouncing off a jungle gym, fighting off the wind. See, there it is. There's the extra weight. That was not a great sign. The front left motor wouldn't spin up. Ah, shit. This also hits harder. Like when this crashes, it's got 15-20% more weight. Like I'm having to really work hard. Ah. Come on. See how the fucker. That was just me. Come on. There we go. See how the throttle resolution is. Let's try it again. See, I had to dig it in there. I had to dig it in to keep it from hitting the lamp. Throttle resolution is totally fine. Pid loop's working good. This is a decent combo. I just don't recommend it. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing great about this, though, at the same time. Like, this is probably one of the better flying 75 millimeter combos. Although I think that those 802s with the 1.5 mil shaft, I think they're going to be quite a bit better. I can't. The last battery on. Yeah, like it rails around the room, but I'm not. I'm just railing around the room. You know, I'm not doing Matty flips and power loops, inverted power loops through gates and shit like that, and I'm not flying under the coffee table. Again, like, could I do a bunch of work and get used to this? Sure, but the 65 mil rigs just make that shit easier. And that's what I want. Little prop wash in one of those power loop recoveries, but but that funky tune is sharp. This is a really weird tune. Steadfast says, have you tried the iFlight full send packs? As good as the nitro injectors to me. I've tried those full send batteries, not for tiny whoops, and they were pretty awful. So I've never tried them since. If they make a tiny whoop battery and it's folded cell, like the Weebleeds, like the tattoos, like the nitro nectars, like the tinywhoop.coms, then they're made from the same place. All of the folded cell batteries are made in the same spot. I know for a fact that iFlight does not make their own batteries. They're just they're either GNB or China Hobby Line or Gen's Ace, which is Tattoo. And if you think about it, right, iFlight has to pay one of those companies to make them a battery and then to put their name on it, and then they have to mark it up a little bit. So typically when you buy a battery not from one of the 3 actual manufacturers, no matter what, it's either, if it's the same price, it's a lower quality battery. If it's more expensive, it's the same battery, right? There's another company's markup being added in there. So I tend to not do that. I can do stuff, just not as crisply, not as easily. Oops. Hey! That's kind of fun. X12 is not blown up yet. This feels too big for inside. That's one way to kind of sum up the 75 rigs, is they just feel too damn big. What's insane about the 65mm rigs is they feel fine even outside. They don't feel too small outside, which I think is because of the amount of power that they've got nowadays with the high kV motors. So if you're only going to fly your tiny whoop outside, 75 starts to make more sense, but I still like the 65s. This is by no means bad, but it still feels really heavy with these motors. So like reducing the weight on this would help out quite a bit, and that's what those 0802s are going to do. I wish I'd saved an extra battery for this. I could have put it on the tri-blades. We'll fly this on the tri-blades on another stream. So we're going to compare that to a barely charged battery on same camera, but 702s. In fairness, I am used to this rig, but it just got to take my word for it. It just does stuff better. Lightweight is, you talk to anybody in the world of aeronautics and they're going to tell you that lightweight is everything. Like, we're literally fighting gravity, and gravity is a cruel bitch. See the instantaneous, like, just the quickness? And this is a battery at 3.7. Oh, now it's at 3.3. I don't even need to fly anymore. You can already see it. Like, just the sharpness. What I want you to notice is the sharpness of that. That sharpness is a get-out-of-jail-free card for you. Because when you mess up, and you will mess up flying inside, that sharpness is what can stop the rig before it goes pummeling into the wall. And that's, like, yeah, it's hard to fly inside, man. It's really hard. Really, 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 really difficult. So you need every possible thing helping you out that you can get. This is one of the better flying 75s, though. These motors are pretty good. I'm super curious how they'll be on tri-blades. I can almost guarantee you that they're not going to do well on the tri-blades. I'm going to try them on the really lightweight, new Gemfan tri-blades. But like I said, I can all but guarantee you, because the 1102s weren't a big enough stator volume motor for the tri-blades. There's nothing about these 1002s that's going to help with that. Other than these are a higher kV, so they will ask for more power from the battery. But they're a smaller stator volume, so I don't think the tri-blades are going to be the jam on these. Not to mention that, like, on tiny whoops, bi-blades are just king for freestyle. But we will try them. On Whoop Wednesday, we'll put this up in the air on the tri-blades. I'm going to leave it on the bi-blades. We'll run 2 batteries back-to-back, bi-blades versus tri-blades. And we'll take a look, and we'll see if it blows my tits off. It won't, but we'll take a look. Did I miss anything in the chat? Sounds pretty clean. Eva says, yeah, it is. New motors, man. Oh, new motors. Hey, I'm going to back this tune off a little bit. This tune is a bit much, and there's really no reason for it to be so cranked up. So let me just really quickly show you. If you do this build, you're going to want to back this PID tune off a little bit. I really like to do my tuning with the master multiplier. It just makes your life so easy. I hate weird 1.45 numbers, so I'm just going to move this up to 1.5 just for my OCD. These are what I'm going to pull down. I'm going to pull the damping D-gains all the way down to... I'm going to pull both of these down to 1.4. It is over-tuned at the moment. So, yeah, I'm just going to chill this out. Normally, I would pull this feed forward down, but it's so heavy... it really needs the feed forward to try to sharpen it up. So I'm actually going to push the feed forward. Oh, wait, no, that's got the numbers up in the 270s. That's too much. I'm going to leave the feed forward alone. D-Max, I turned on. I moved it up to 1.0. They've got the I gain significantly pulled down. Move it up a little bit. I don't like low I gain. It feels a little too floppy. And then they've got the pitch pulled down. That's weird. I don't like that at all. So I'm going to move the pitch back up to 1.0. Let's save that. Anti-gravity, I'm going to pull that down from 4.5 to 4. iTerm relax, we're going to bring that from 20 down to 10. Jitter reduction, I'm going to move that up to 8. That adds a little bit of stick smoothing. Dynamic damping, I'm just going to move it up to 40 for an even number. It's interesting that they have the advanced zeroed out. That's something that I typically do. So that's nice that they're doing that already. VBAT sag compensation, I don't necessarily love that, so I'm going to turn that off. Oh, they don't have dynamic idle turned on. That's weird. What do we usually run? 30? Yeah, let's run that at 30. All right. And I am going to turn on thrust linear, but I run it nice and low, down at 10. That adds a little bit of pit authority at 0 throttle. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I didn't make any drastic changes here. I'm tempted to pull the... I'm going to pull these down even more. I'm going to pull these down to 1.2. And that's going to let me move the I gain back up to 1. So this is a lot closer to like the standard tunes that I run on the 65mm rigs. The tune that it came with was fine. It was a little bit over, but I mean it was fine now that the motors are clean. As the motors get more banged up, that tune would get a little bit more angry. Did you guys happen to see where the throttle midpoint is? I'm going to drop this down to 0.35. That's probably a better number. Throttle resolution seemed fine. They've got a lot of filtering on this. 3 dynamic notch filters, not 3. Let's pull that down to 1. And then we're going to crank this max frequency up to 800 because these are a much higher kV motor than what this ships with. Q of 300, we'll leave that alone. So we removed some filtering, not drastically, but just little tweaks. I'm going to turn on the yaw low pass filter. Apparently you want that on. And apparently it doesn't add hardly any delay. So there you go. If you want to screw around with your PIDs, there's some stuff you can do. I don't have another battery to put it back up in the air on that, but I can't imagine that will have messed up the tune at all. There might be enough juice left in one of these. I brought a couple of these batteries home with some left. That's at 3.79. So is that one. Just want to make sure it doesn't fly away. This one's at 3.82. This one's at 3.80 and it's a 450. So let's really quickly throw it up in the air on this one. Just hit save. Disconnect. Starting to lose my voice again. That's why I'm talking a little quieter. Yeah, let's just make sure that those changes I just made haven't put this thing into a place where it's not flyable. I would pull those PIDs down for sure. If you're gonna do this build, I would pull the PIDs down a little bit. The other stuff is not necessary though. Come on. Come on, little guy. Oh. Okay. So putting that digital idle in, it is now not spinning the motors on arm. Let's move the ramp up. If you choose to put your so that's a very low number that I put in there. You can either turn your ramp up power up and do like I did there and use the digital idle down at the value of 30, or run the digital idle up at like 50 or 60 and not change the ramp up. I'm going to choose to change the ramp up. So really quickly, we're going to go back into ESC configurator and we're going to give it a little bit more ramp up power. So we need battery power to do that. Plug that in. And now we're going to come here to escconfigurator.com. We're going to connect. We're going to read settings. We're going to come over here to the startup power. We're going to go from 1025 up to 1100. And then for the maximum, we're going to go from 1100 up to, let's do 1260. Right settings. You could just push them all the way up. It's not a exact science with those. And now let's see how it is. Let's see if it spins the motors when I arm it this time. You can avoid all this by just not using that digital idle, which has a tiny little benefit. And there we go. And now we've got a rig that spins the propellers. Just barely, though. Just barely. And they're struggling a little bit. You don't want any struggle like that. So we're going to blast those two the rest of the way up. Because I like to try to use that same 30 value on everything with the digital idle. So we'll come in here, we'll connect again, read settings, and we're just going to max these all the way out. Right settings, disconnect, come on, and unplug. Now let's see how that is. The battery is also at 3.8 at full battery. It would be a little bit better, but still, even when the battery is at 3.8, you don't want it to struggle at idle. Still a little struggle. Okay, so we do need to move that digital idle up. Do that real quick, and then we'll be good to go. Betaflight. Okay, and now the digital idle is here in the PID tab. Sorry, not digital idle, dynamic idle. Dynamic idle. So I'm going to move this. We'll move it all the way up to 40. That'll be fine. And good to go. Flat spot towards me. And now let me just blip this up in the air a couple times to make sure it's cool. Good to go. Whoa. Did I run the battery all the way down? Yeah, I did. Or did I? Hold on. 3.64. No, I did not run the battery all the way down. How's it doing at idle? Oh, wow. No, it's still having a hard time. Okay. That dynamic idle has to come up. It's way too low. Interesting.
Bannister Post says, close the loop. What do you mean, stop the stream? Soon. Soon. Connect. Pid tuning. Dynamic idle up to 50. Let's see how that does. Save it. Motors tab. 12 motor poles, bidirectional. D-shot 300. CPU load is 43%. I don't love this PID loop frequency at 2K. That sucks. Let's see if it'll run at 4K. See what the CPU load does. Connect. Oh no, it's too high. CPU load is up at 66, 60. Well, maybe not. Let's give it a try. Let's give it a chance. Now's when I over discharge and destroy this battery. So we move that digital idle up and see how it does on the ground here. Nah, it is still having a hard time with the motors. Wow. I'm shocked that it is requiring so much digital idle. That's wild. I mean, that's how they had it from the factory, so I guess it kind of makes sense, but this is a much more torquey motor. So let's go all the way up to 80. And this battery is probably so dead that I don't want to put it back up in the air. Let me see. Nah, it's still at 3.72. Man, that's amazing. These bigger batteries have significantly more juice in them. This one's at 3.8. Let's try this one. So dynamic idle is now up at 80. Let's see how that does. Okay. And I want to make sure that if you do absolutely everything that I show you here, you're going to have a rig that doesn't give you any issues. What is happening at idle? Why is it? This is acting a little funny. Huh. It's not really getting better. Let me do this. Let me not use digital idle. Because this started as soon as I started using the... dynamic idle, rather. I really like dynamic idle, though. How do you turn it off? What do you just make it 0, I think? I think that's how you turn it off, and then that re-enables this, the motor idle percent, the static motor idle percent. Static disregard. Okay, so yeah, let's leave this is at 8%, which is the same thing as 80. Let's see how this does. Julianne Dan says, this is what happened to me after flashing Blue Jay and then my gyro went out. The hell's that about? That's weird. Yeah, now we're fine. Interesting. Interesting. Is there some, I mean, they don't ship it with the dynamic idle turned on. Maybe it's a CPU load thing, I guess. Let's do this. Let's put it high. Let's put this dynamic idle really high. Let's do 150. Oh no, wow, 100 is the max. Can't go above 100. Well, we didn't try it at 100. So let's try it at 100. It ain't gonna work though. If it wasn't working at 80, it ain't gonna work at 100. Weird. Very weird. Nope. Still doing it. Strange. This AIO just doesn't like dynamic idle. I wonder if it's I wonder if the ESC doesn't have enough processing power for some reason to be able to handle it. That seems super weird to me, but yeah, I mean, I can't use it. I have the startup power turned up as high as it'll go, and the dynamic idle value turned up as high as it'll go. So now I'm going to come in here to the motors tab, and I'm actually going to drop this down from 8% to 6%. And let's see what happens. So this now has a static motor idle, significantly lower than the dynamic idle was a minute ago. And it's, nope, it's not. The left rear motor is so yeah, static idle of 8 is as low as you're going to really be able to go. I could maybe chase the dragon and do 7, but that's not a good idea to run that super low, because it can lead to desyncs, and we already had 1 desync tonight on this thing. So we're going to move this back up to 8, and that's where it should be. Interesting. And it looks like it runs fine so far, at least, with the PID loop at 8K 4K, which is kind of cool, because between 2K and 4K there is a performance increase. So yeah, there you go. There's like the full build, and what I would recommend in terms of, I actually would not recommend doing as much as I just did in Betaflight. I would grab the top 2 sliders, and I would pull those down for sure. But you can pretty much stop there. The rest of the setup to this thing is pretty damn good. But build a 65mm rig instead. There's all kinds of wacky stuff that you have to do on this that you don't really have to do on those Mobula7 builds. Good looking little build though. The clear canopy is really hot, man. Come on. Come on. You can't tell me that's not sexy. Here, hold on. Hold on. Let's do a straight up porno session with this thing. Hold on. Let's get something going on here. Yeah, all right, here we go. Let's see what we can do. All right, enough. That was way more fun than I thought it would be, though. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging. Interesting build. Interesting build. I don't think it has quite enough power for outdoor for outside. I am going to take that out to the jungle gym and see how it is. Just as it sits. I'll bring a set of tri-blades maybe. Strobe blades in a smoke machine. Yeah, right. Totally. Yeah, I'll bring a set of tri-blades. See if maybe no. You know what? I'll run it on tri-blades here. And then it won't blow me away. But, yeah. I am curious as to what it'll be like outside. I don't think it's going to have quite enough power. I think it's a KV issue. I think 23,500 KV is just not enough to match these 65 mil rigs. Because that's what I'm going for. Like, most people would love this. Most people would fly this and be like, oh my god, this is the greatest tiny whoop ever. This is 10,000 times better than all the 65 millimeter whoops. But then if I gave one of those people this, they would pee their pants right in front of me. And I would laugh. So, yeah, nothing wrong with this build at all, but there's better for inside. I have a feeling it's not going to have quite enough KV for outside. And the way that I'm going to answer that question for sure is with these motors here. 802, they'll bring the weight down by 2 grams and change. 27,000 kV instead of 23,500 kV. So yeah, there's your 1002 build. And then when I switch those motors on, I'm going to put these 1002s onto one of these little tiny toothpick frames, like a 2-inch toothpick, and we'll see how these do with the GemFan 2-inch biblades. And yeah, we'll continue the testing. 1002s, man. If you're watching this on replay, drop in the comments. If you're still here, just leave a comment saying that you're a hardcore MFer. But if you've done a build with 1002s, tell me about it. Because, yeah, I don't know. I have astronomically high standards. And so I always like to hear from you guys who don't have just as ridiculous standards as I do, which builds you enjoy flying. The nice thing about me having impossibly high standards is that if you do the builds that I do, you'll be like, oh, shit. Cool. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com. Help me do this full-time forever. Join my Patreon and click a bunch of buttons. Love you. Eva FPV says, I think White Fox loves the 1002s. Yeah, a lot of people love the 1002s. A lot of people don't have impossibly high standards. So, yeah. Be good, friends. Here comes some random flying. Maybe the computer will be a little bit nicer to me this time. And I'll catch you guys on Whoop Wednesday. Hey, Whoop Wednesday is going to be fun. We're going to give the newbie drone BLV4 one more shot. I got a fresh one we're going to put into it and see if the OSD acts better. And I even if the OSD acts better, I still don't get it. John O'Connor says maybe 2S gives enough power. It would, but then 2S would add a ton of weight, so it would kind of defeat the purpose. 2S is really toothpick only. Tiny whoops on 2S don't make any sense. You end up breaking motors, breaking frames. The build becomes way, way, way too heavy for the extra weight. Doubled the battery weight, and the batteries are already super heavy. So, yeah, 2S is really not a good idea for tiny whoops usually. Here's another battery from that same gig, but this time with Horizon Lock turned on. Be good, friends. Have an awesome Tuesday. I'll see you Wednesday. Come on, computer. Don't be a jerk off. All right, hold on. I'm sending you guys the audio. Come on, man. Don't be like this. Let's see. Maybe it'll cooperate. I doubt it, but maybe. Later, friends.